Welcome to another edition of Action 14. I'm Mike Briggs, and we'll be bringing you information from the city, from the arts, and from the school in the Plymouth area. I have with me now the mayor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be here with our TV 14 viewers.
It's construction season, and boy, you've done a lot of, there's a lot of construction going on Clifford Street.
Oh, for those on Clifford Street is, I'm sure, not very pleasant, as we're doing a complete rebuild, dig out, replace, put back in.
Water and sewer at the same time?
Water, sewer, so we're splitting some of the costs with the utility, and that's the beauty of it. We end up saving probably 25% of the cost because we're doing two things at once, and the utility pays its share and the city pays its share. So there's a definite cost savings to it. Trouble is, instead of just having a half of the road torn up and the other half can still get around, we just tear the whole bloody thing out, and everybody's inconvenienced at once.
Now, Clifford Street is one of the oldest streets in the city, and the housing also, so it's important that they probably have some old water and sewer lines that could be replaced.
They do, and we have that loan program with the city for lead abatement that they can participate in, and from the street to the house, that lateral is the responsibility of the homeowner, but we do have a program to help assist them, because sometimes the cost is $3,000, sometimes it's $10,000, and they can pay that back over time. But it is something that will eventually help in our testing of lead contaminants in the water, and unfortunately, fortunately, that's tested in the house. It's not tested in the street. So we encourage that replacement from the street to the house, because that's where the old linings are, and we want to get those out of there, and then that'll improve the test numbers a whole lot.
Clifford Street also received a tremendous amount of traffic from large vehicles over the years because of its location.
Yeah, it definitely does, and so it takes an extra, shall we say, layer of cement in order to handle those substantial weights, which today are a whole lot different than when Clifford Street was put in.
Possibly over 100 years ago.
Yeah, and they're finding a few surprises down there that they might end up putting in the utility archive someplace, because you never know what you're going to find, but when you find wood sewer pipes, that's the right word, they're wood.
Is that right?
It's amazing, and it's like, they thought of it, it worked, but at the same time, we have to upgrade. So it's a good thing.
Yes, it is, but it's going to be a long summer for those folks living on Clifford.
Unfortunately, there's no shortcut to doing it correctly, and then of course, once it gets done, it'll be back to efficiency again, but going to be a little bit of inconvenience all summer long, I'm afraid.
Well, let's have a good welcome to our new police chief, Ken. He's on the payroll now.
He's on the payroll. Talked with him a couple times, and he's very excited about being in Plymouth, and he comes from a community that's 30,000, so he started there when it was only 10, so he got to see it grow and the growing pains that go with it. He's excited about being here. He actually purchased a house. He'll be moving in sometime, I think it's the first week in June, and we look forward to that. But he's really, he went out kind of incognito. I didn't ask him what outfit he put on to camouflage. So I was teasing him about that. But he's been around and, you know, looking in stores, talking to people,
Yep.
not necessarily introducing himself because he wanted to kind of, you know, get the lay of the land. And he's very excited. He seems like he'll be a good fit.
We don't want to hold against him that he's from Illinois.
Oh, no. We would not do that to any Flatlander. Oh, did I say that out loud?
But it's great that he's going to be part of what's happening, and there's going to be a special ceremony coming up.
At our end of May 30th council meeting, we'll give him the official swearing in, and then after the council meeting that night, we'll have a little meet and greet with some refreshments and some finger food, we call it,
Okay.
for the community if they want to come and meet him and talk to him, maybe express some of their concerns or whatever. He's very open to discussing things, and so we'll see what happens. But the public's invited, and we think that he's looking forward to it. He said, actually, I saw him yesterday, and he says, boy, things really get off to a fast start here. And I says, oh yeah, I said, that's Plymouth. I said, we don't let any grass grow on your feet.
Well, particularly right now, when we're getting ready for the summer and for Road America and all the different things that bring a number of people to the city, it is a very busy time coming
Well,
in.
and that's what he said with Road America. He said, I've never experienced that influx. And so he's been talking to the officers and people about that, and he's very excited. He says, wow, he said, this will be something new on his table. So
Yeah, you can meet him up. It'll be the May 30th. That's the last Tuesday in May.
in May,
Down at City Hall after your meetings start at
7 o'clock,
7 o'clock. So it's after the meetings.
probably 7:30,
Yeah.
something like
Come
that.
on down and meet the new guy, meet Ken, and see how things are going. And welcome to Plymouth.
That's right. That would be a good idea.
We should also possibly put him on the TV show here sometime in the near future.
I think he could substitute for the mayor and do an adequate job. I would encourage him to do that.
Okay, we'll have to look into that.
I sign his check, but I can't tell him what to do.
Oh, you can a little bit.
Well, yeah,
You can hint.
I get to hint, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Plymouth Utilities. The people do not understand, possibly, still may not in Plymouth, that we get our utilities possibly much cheaper, quite a bit cheaper, than the area around us because the city owns our utilities.
We do. We're one of the rare communities, New Holstein is one, that own their own electric utility. Sheboygan Falls, for instance, is We Energy is their supplier. We have our own utility company. It's part of the city. They actually have a budget of $37 million a year.
Yeah.
So it's a huge operation.
What I did not realize is that it extends itself to all of our cheese companies. It extends itself all the way, including Johnsonville. And the university also.
Yep. It entails Lakeland University, Johnsonville, like you said, all of our cheese companies. And then it runs all the way down to the town of Scott and actually into Fond du Lac County with the prison system. So we have a huge network. It's something like 35 miles long, kind of like an hourglass that you turn over.
And Plymouth is like in the middle.
We're kind of in the middle of it, so it's shaped that way. So it's a big territory that we have a lot of open areas that, just like when the weather turns bad, we either get it on the south side or the north side of that quadrant, and it's a huge area to cover. lot of rural areas, but I will say we have a very reliable grid, and we have upgraded that grid so that customers such as Johnsonville, which are kind of in the rural area, they're actually operational from two different ends. So if the power goes down on grid 3, we can in minutes switch them over to grid 4. Capacity is there and they don't lose 1 second of production. The lights might flicker, but they're running, and that's what's important. And we've been very aggressive in building our quality of the grid and our transmission. The investment in that is huge,
Yes.
but our customers are the benefactors of that, and we don't pay dividends to stockholders like other utility companies do because we're owned by the city. So those dividends come back to us in the way of new equipment, infrastructure, and quite honestly, one of the best employee packages around. And there's all sorts of jobs available at Plymouth Utilities. I'm aware of one opening right now. I would certainly encourage people to look into it as a career opportunity. I think that their high wages, the state pension fund, the insurance package, which is the same insurance package that the city employees have, and similar to the school, is second to none. So you've got retirement, you've got benefits, you've got good pay, and you get to work right here. And you know, we've had a lot of situations over the years where a problem will occur, whether it's a water main, electricity is down, where our crew are your neighbors and they jump into action and they fix it. So we're very fortunate, and you're right. When you have a lower cost to operations, that's why we get some of the expansion we do, because our customers know that they would pay substantially higher costs if they were literally on the other side of the road. And in Johnsonville's case, you can see that. Just, you know where the hayfield is in Johnsonville, and it's not in our quadrant, it's across the street in We Energy's quadrant. So we're very happy and proud of that. And being wholly owned and part of the WPPI, Wisconsin Public Power Incorporated, they are in the marketplace with all the big players buying electricity, selling electricity. We have quite a investment in renewables and everything else. So they are up to speed, doing what they have to do to supply dependable energy.
Excellent. Now, I do want to mention that we, having gone down through Mill Street, that we've got some new baby trees along the road there. You have your city people working on upgrading Mill Street and the area around that.
Our crew has been out as part of our tree planting that was recently in a newspaper, and they're replacing some of the trees. Matt does a very good job. He was able to come up with some replacements at a very ridiculous low cost, which is nice. And some they had to cut down in order to transplant. One in the middle by the downtown facility was just too big to transplant, so they actually had to cut it down.
But you were able to transplant several over by Parkview.
Correct, and that's what we did, was we took those that we could transplant and put them in Parkview and the boulevard there. We did some in more open areas of the city where we're able to have a greater canopy allowance when they start growing a little more. And so we didn't waste much at all. And of course, everything that we take down, we cut up, we grind up, and that ends up being the mulch and some of the product that goes into replanting.
Some of them look very nice. They've got some trees that are flowering,
Yep.
et cetera, along Mill Street.
Correct.
It looks like these might be trees that they may fit downtown and the street much better.
They will, and they're a little hardier. I think it'll take 2 or 3 years for them to bud out and do what they're supposed to. But I think that we've put a theme in place, and that's very encouraging. And we're trying to do that throughout the city, once again with all of the emerald ash borer that we had too many of one kind. So now we're trying to diversify that, and we're trying to create different themes throughout the city, so we won't have a complete annihilation of our trees in the city. And we just celebrated our 30th year as Tree City USA, so it's quite a monumental level to maintain, and we're doing everything we can to keep that standard up.
Now, as we go forward, it's going to be a busy summer. Most of it will be working on one street in Plymouth, but you have other items on your list for the city of Plymouth.
Oh, sure. We constantly are trying to fix and patch and repair and keep our maintenance costs at a reasonable level so we don't have to do a complete rebuild. And some areas, there's no need for that rebuild because we don't have the lead abatement situation that we have to work around. But we still want to maintain those streets and roads and utilities. So there's always a constant budget process for doing that. But if we can keep the complete tear out like Clifford, that saves us money in the long run too.
And now the city is getting ready for a busy summer. Your police department now has a new leader to make things run more smoothly, and we do have to thank someone who has stepped in at the police department, et cetera, over this time. It has been quite a long time since we had a retirement.
Well, Matt took on the job of interim chief.
Yep.
For a couple months that turned into 12 months.
Yeah, I was just gonna go there.
And he did a remarkable job. He's very happy. I saw him just the other day, and he has good things to say about the new chief. And I think that he'll have a very good working relationship with the new chief. And Matt is for the city. And that's what we want. And he certainly went above and beyond the call of duty, taking on that responsibility for quite a long period of time, and I think did a very good job.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you for being on.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
I want to remind everybody that the city council meetings are the second and last Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. down at City Hall. Be part of what's happening in the city, and certainly be part of the May 30th gathering where you can talk and meet the new police chief.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you again.
You're welcome, always.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about the arts, and also we're going to convince our superintendent to sit in the hot seat for a little while, so stay right with us. You're watching Action 14.
Very good, yeah.
5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to Action 14. As promised, we're going to talk about the arts now, and I've got a couple people here to talk. Bridget and I've got Rosalia. You are the co-directors of what we have happening downtown, Mill Street Live. This is the 15th year. Can you believe it?
It's wild.
Yeah.
15 years already.
You've got 16-year-old to 35-year-old people on your group, and you have a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And you just started practicing?
We did. We just started Sunday night. We have an incredibly talented cast, so we're really excited about this summer.
Good, good. It's what, 7 Fridays and 2 Saturdays.
Yes.
And so almost every Friday night we can go down to the Arts Center and be entertained.
Absolutely, and we hope to see you there.
And when we talk about $15 in advance, what an inexpensive enjoyment of 90 minutes of many different things. Tell me about a couple of the items.
Oh, I mean, this summer we have added new themes. So we're doing a destination section. So we're doing songs about just different places. And we're doing a color section. So that one's probably our favorite. We're doing a bunch of songs about a bunch of colors.
Well, your opening is the 23rd of June.
Yes.
Okay, Friday the 23rd, and that's the night before the Cheese Festival. And I bet there's going to be some cheese in the singing.
Oh, absolutely. You know there will be. It's Plymouth, Wisconsin. We have to. So.
Now, this is not your first year,
No.
either of you, directing this. And why did you come back? Why do you keep coming back?
That's a great question. Well, it's both of our third year directing this summer. And I can only speak for myself, but I think Mill Street is a big family. And even when you're in the audience, I think that you feel that environment. It's just a fun place to be, a fun group of people. And I think that's why I keep coming back.
And you are just enjoying it?
It's just a fun thing to come home to. We're both in college right now, so every time that Mill Street rehearsals start, we're like, we get to go home and we get to do rehearsals and have shows and stuff. And I think that's something we both really look forward to.
What I get a kick out of is that it's 90 minutes on almost every Friday, 7 different Fridays and 2 Saturdays. Because it's live and it's 90 minutes, there's something different that can happen every night. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yes. Every night is a surprise,
Yes.
really. And just fun little quirks that the cast throws in every night. It's awesome. So you'll get a different show every time you go.
And of course, not only is it a different show, you have a different audience and people, and everybody should understand that any age.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, yeah, any age can be there. Adults are $15 and a little bit less for the younger ones.
For
and,
the younger.
and the very young, of course, get in free. But it is something you can take the whole family to, is what I would like to mention.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a family-friendly show, and we are very conscious as a cast of involving the audience in the show. And so, as you said, we have a different audience every week, which just furthers the fact that the show is different every week. Super fun.
Now, tell me about the music that, all 12 of these people are your singers/dancers.
Yes.
And so you actually pipe in different music every week for this activity? Or some
So,
songs are the same, but
yeah,
you might add
we-
something new every week.
We actually use the same set list the whole summer.
Okay.
So the cast will learn one show, but like Bridget said, they sometimes will add their own personality, their
Yeah.
own little quirks every week. So sometimes we hear or see something different.
It even surprises us.
Yeah, but it makes it fun for us. So
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to take, as long as we're talking about the Arts Center, I do want to talk about some other things happening because, first of all, Alive in the Arts is a beautiful show on the walls down at the Arts Center. And that's going to be there till August 4th. And during intermission, your people coming to your show can walk through there and see some
Yes.
beautiful artwork.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to just see some of the beautiful artistry that's available around Sheboygan County, and purchase some artwork while you're at it too.
That's right, and of course, I say come down and buy your tickets down at the Arts Center because there's a gift shop that's marvelous.
Yeah.
yes,
Oh my
it's
gosh,
so
stunning.
pretty.
Yeah. So much to see there.
So tempting.
Yeah, it really is. It's always good to support local
Yep.
artists. So.
Let's talk about something coming up before your opening. Again, you're opening on June 23rd, but we have the Spring Art Tour of the Northern Moraine here happening on June 9th and 10th. That's a Friday and Saturday. And that's happening throughout everywhere from Random Lake all the way to Kiel and Cleveland. It's 15 different locations, but the biggest location is 9 vendors will be at the Arts Center. And so I would start at the Arts Center, and it's 10 a.m. start on Friday and Saturday, June 9th and 10th. And then on Friday, it's till 6 and Saturday till 5. I went through to all but 2 last year, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
You get to see artists performing, you know, that you, and then we talk everything from oil to wood to leather. It was really it was very, very fun for my wife and I to visit all the different places. But the neat part is if you go to the Arts Center, you have 9 different vendors, I use the word vendors, but artists, that are willing to show you how they make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see there's a ton of different mediums used. And like we said with Mill Street, it's just really fun to be able to see the artistry come out of your own community.
Yeah.
I think we're so lucky in Plymouth to have the arts that we have.
Yeah.
You know, to have an art center in downtown Plymouth. I mean, we're so spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they put so much good work into it. It's really a special place to be.
This is the 15th year of doing a show for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been both working on being the co-directors for 3 years now?
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
both of our fifth year
5th
being a part of
years.
the program.
Yeah, you actually have starred in it, if you will, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so now you're on your 5th year of the 15th year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you miss not being on the stage?
You know, I thought that I would, but really to see the cast go out there and do their thing and just have so much fun makes it so much better than performing.
But you'd rather step in if someone was sick, wouldn't you?
I mean, I danced the whole show from the back of
yeah.
the great room. So if you ask the cast, like, could Rosalia do the whole show? Yeah, she could, but it would be backwards because I do it facing them.
We're still sweating after
Yeah.
the whole show, just like the cast. So.
Yeah, but no, I agree with Bridget that directing, it's a different kind of like proud when you watch something that you've worked so hard versus like working so hard to be in it. So it's a
It's a different kind of work.
yeah.
And it's keeping the 12 people all together and making a team, or like I would say, a family out of them.
Yeah, and they make our job easy. They're really wonderful people.
Yeah. And so some of these are new people from last year, and some are
Yes.
returning also.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a mix of people that have been in it since we have been in it, and then a couple like second-year veterans, and then quite a handful of new people this year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
It's a great cast, and there is not a short stick among them. They're really wonderful.
Now, it's $15 in advance, $17 at the door, so I would say, personally, go down to the Arts Center and buy tickets. Now, you can call it in. You can call it in at 892-8409. They also have info@plymoutharts.org. You can do it online. But I would advise people, come down and see what's happening down there.
Absolutely.
We have so many people that I know that have never been in the Arts Center.
Oh, wow.
They live in Plymouth, Wisconsin, and they've never been in the Arts Center. And I go, what? You have to go down and see what a beautiful place it is.
Yeah, there's a huge gift waiting for you there.
Yeah,
so.
because I remember when it was a car lot. Okay, in the old days. And so 30 years later, we have the most beautiful Arts Center in the area. And every Friday, almost 7 Fridays and 2 Saturdays, starting June 23rd all the way through August 5th, you can come down to the Arts Center and see Mill Street live. I want to convince everybody to bring the whole family, enjoy. It's different show every night. Go to more than one. You will see a difference if you go on one Friday, wait a week and 2, and go another Friday.
Absolutely.
Go to a Saturday show, and you will have a different enjoyment altogether.
Absolutely.
Have fun, and I wish you the best of luck over the next several weeks as you entertain
Great.
the
Thank you
Plymouth
so much.
area.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, and I wish you the best of luck.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
When we come back, I'm going to have the superintendent of schools here, Dan Mella, and I'm going to put him on the hot seat and ask him some tough questions about what's happening in the Plymouth School District. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14.
3.
Welcome back to Action 14. As promised, I've got Dan Mella in the hot seat. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Superintendent of Schools, Dan Mella, you're having way too much fun.
It is a blast all the time being superintendent of schools.
Well, one of the things that is a blast is we've got some cool air. The air conditioner's working, kind of.
I can't believe you brought that up.
Because we were planning on having such a hot summer, and I hope I don't jinx it, but the air conditioner has been turned on and tested, and it is cooling. It may not be cooling to the level we need or would like, but it's doing some work, and that's very nice.
Right. 1/6 of the machine that currently does the job for this building is still functioning.
Isn't that something?
And so
though?
that 1/6 is being spread out gently across the building in the rooms. And
part of the problem is that's not going to get replaced until school starts or later.
we ordered the replacement unit for it in February of this year.
Yep.
It's not going to be here till somewhere in the middle of winter in 2024.
Yep. It's going to be
So-
almost a year in waiting
Just waiting for the air conditioner, really.
for the equipment.
Right.
Yep. That's
So-
tough times.
Yeah, right. So, and we weren't anticipating that, and so we were intending to be able to tear down the old unit in summer and put the new one on, and we had a plan for that. That's why, again, we're having summer school over at Riverview, and so we had a plan for that. But then, it's one of those things where, yes, we'll have it for you in summer. Well, it might be a month. It's kind of like flying on an airplane when you get the delay.
Yeah.
They start with 1 hour.
And all of a
And
sudden
then they
it's
move
5.
it to 2, and then they move it to 3.
Yeah.
And they know darn well at the very beginning that it was going to be a 5-hour delay, but they just string you along.
Well, let's talk about something very positive, and that's AFS. We have Plymouth School District probably has the most AFS students of a school our size in the area, maybe in the state.
I believe that we have had the most AFS students over the past 20 years in the state of Wisconsin, regardless of size.
Okay.
So typically schools limit their AFS students because there is
One or
work.
two.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's connecting with their home countries. There are things about transcripts. So there's work that goes into it from the school district side of it, and usually districts limit it to about 1 or 2. We're upwards of 10 a year.
Yes.
And sometimes more.
Yes.
And sometimes we pick up kids who maybe were in a different location and weren't having a great experience, and they come to our place.
Yep.
So yeah, and so the presentation that the kids give to the school board is always one of the highlights of the year.
And that's coming right up now, and so the school board will be impressed by these students.
Right. They are. They always ask some of the same questions, like
Their favorite food.
favorite food. What was your biggest surprise about school?
Yeah.
Why is it different than where you're coming from? And that's almost always like sports and activities and how close knit a high school is here compared to where they're coming from. They tend to be more, collegiate in nature. They come in, do their classes, and they leave. And if they've got a sport or an activity, that's all.
It's a club.
It's a club.
Or an
Yeah.
organization, I would say. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so here, they are probably surprised that there's always 3 to 5 sports going on all the time.
Right, and their friends that they make are in these things, and then they're going to the events and going to the musical and going to the band concert and all the things that we do here in the comprehensive high school model
Yeah.
are kind of part of, really an important part of Americana when you
Yes,
think
is.
of it.
It is. And so they are actually going to be speaking to the school board, and that's one of the positive things. Now, one of the difficult and concerning things is health insurance. We're not changing health insurance, but the rules are changing. They're always changing. We're trying to keep the numbers low, but health insurance is going up again. And so there's a lot of things that have to be explained.
Right. Every year we go out to bid for health insurance and see what increases or decreases hopefully we could get. This year was in particularly a rough year. We were originally quoted that we would need to be spending district-wide an additional $300,000 to $400,000 to maintain the same kind of coverage that we had had the year before, same deductibles and things. And so like lots of other places and businesses, we're looking at high deductible plans. We have a high deductible plan that's offered. Eventually, we settled on an option that keeps most people being able to keep at least their local doctors. But then still in a pretty sizable increase in cost to the district and the teachers who also and the people that take our insurance, the support staff too. They all pay into their insurance as well.
Yes.
And then there's the deductible, doubled. And now a family plan deductible is approaching $5,000.
Yep.
So if you have a rough year, somebody breaks their leg in your family, any kind of raise you were given is probably eaten up by the deductible that one broken leg has. And so having kids on my insurance that are in multiple things in sports, somebody always breaks something. There's always some issue going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a cost to the district, and it's teachers aren't and support staff and public school personnel aren't generally paid a very, very high wage, and so sometimes when you have an insurance year that eats into a lot of the potential, any potential raise, it is a little disheartening.
It is.
And so I know people all across our area have felt the sting of medical costs and health insurance costs, and I mean, we're not different than anybody else, but it's an ongoing issue, I think, nationally
It is.
in the country.
It is.
And at some point, people need to come together around a system that restricts the amount of cost. Nobody else in the world pays as much as we do for healthcare.
Right, right.
So
Yeah. It's a tough thing, and we've had meetings with, and are going to continue to have a few more meetings to explain it to our staff,
Right.
because there are a lot of questions that have to be answered. It's
Right.
tough.
And we have some people retire from our district and they stay on our insurance. They pay for it to stay on our insurance. And so those people sometimes are way out of the loop because they've been gone for 15 years.
Yeah.
And so trying to keep them caught up on some of these things is important too. And so we try to do that as well.
Yep. Well, let's talk about some positive things with our school. The FBLA is sending a number of people to Georgia.
Georgia.
On my mind.
On my mind. Yeah, we had another great year for our FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders of America. And they are like FFA in that there are different strands of competition. There are accounting competitions, there are sales and promotion competitions, there's managerial competitions, there's even writing, different things like that. So we had a number of students, I believe it is 12, I have to check that again, but they are heading to Georgia in summer to compete at the national level.
Yeah.
We're always now, with a resurgence in our FBLA, we're always very competitive in the state.
Right.
Top 10 finishes statewide, all sized districts. So that's great. But now we sent some people to nationals last year and they did well. And so hopefully this year we have people that do well at nationals again. And we have, that's another good point. In this district, we have something for everybody.
Yep.
If you're outside of your regular school day, if you have an interest in just about anything, we have something where you can be a part.
One of the things that's not on our list, but I have to bring it up, is I looked over the agenda for your school board meeting, and I see that we are hiring a number of people already for next year. It seems like we're way ahead of the schedule, way ahead of the game.
Right. I believe at this point we still have only one position that we know of where somebody has let us know that they're going to be resigning or retiring, a number of those again this year, and moving on to the next phase of their life. And we've filled all of them already,
Yeah.
except for one. And the pool of candidates is not big.
I know that.
Most of the people that we're hiring are coming from other school districts.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with, they're a young married couple and, they're moving to the area for one of the other's job, and so looking in that area. But that happens to us too. The younger teachers are getting married, they
Yeah.
find each other's where they are, and they end up having to move sometimes.
Yeah, and we're getting some people come back to Plymouth to teach also. So it's really kind of neat. That's kind of neat to see that
Right.
someone's coming back to Plymouth to teach.
Yeah, we've got former graduates that come back, but
Yep.
sometimes we've had, in this case, we have Shelley Benedict. Shout out to Shelley Benedict.
I know.
She took a couple years off there, and she wanted to get back into the classroom, and she's a great teacher, and so we welcomed her back with open arms, and she'll be at our middle school again,
Yeah.
back into the 7th grade, doing great things. So.
Yeah. All good.
Yep, all good.
Yep.
And I'm happy that we're able to get out there a little bit earlier, because when the candidate pool is smaller, there's way less people going into education than there used to be.
That's right.
And so when the group of choices is smaller, you've got to compete with everybody, and one of the ways to do that is to get out there early.
And so it's really nice that we've got a half a dozen hirings that'll be on the school board, we'll be approving tonight, our teachers for next year.
Right.
Let's talk also about curriculum, and let's talk about summer, because summer school will be held at the middle school for the most part, and there's some things added. It's going to be there's some neat summer school things going on.
Right. Again, we are having a little bit of difficulty finding staff for summer school. It's affecting the things that we're able to offer, but we are also offering some things that are new. And again, summer school is not a requirement, and so it kind of depends on who you're able to hire and is willing to do summer school. It depends to be what the classes are that you actually have. So this year, a couple of the new fun classes are, we've got a class that is going to be where you can get all your safety certifications through the Wisconsin DNR. So your safety certifications in boating, snowmobile, UTV, but also we're going to be offering your safety certification in both shooting, so hunter's safety.
Hunter safety.
And there's one other one, I can't remember what it is. I don't think it's your trapping certificate, but it's
But I think it's
something like
the
that.
bow, being able to use your bow correctly and,
Right.
and go hunting appropriately and
Right.
safely.
Right. So, I mean, that filled up very, very quickly. So a lot of people are out there. It's not easy to get into some of those things.
Right.
And the fact that we were doing it, and it was online during COVID, and I don't think that's as meaningful an experience for kids. So now we've got real classes with a real instructor, and they actually, for the UTV and snowmobile, they actually have machines there
Yeah.
that they can learn on. Obviously there's no snow, but they'll know how to turn them on. They'll understand all the parts and all of that. So yeah, we're really excited about some of those things. And there are some other new classes as well. Some of the old ones aren't able to be offered because we don't have staff for those. But it'll be a good program.
Good, good. Now, one of the things that is going to be a shock to our area is the fact that someone's going to be announcing their retirement.
Right? Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
So I'm not retiring this year.
Not right away.
I'm going to retire at the end of the 23-24 school year.
So a year from June.
A year from June. So that'll give and the point of doing an announcement early is so that the board has time to go through a good process, understand who's out there. There may be some internal candidates that are interested. They'll have a chance to really do some good vetting for the next person that is going to be the superintendent and find a quality person. So the reason for the announcement is just that it's making sure that they've got time to do a good job with that.
We want to make sure that your replacement can try to live up to you.
It's going to be tough. Actually, I've got small shoes to fill.
Let's talk about the Parkview principal.
Right, another position that we're working on filling. We've had some interviews already for the Parkview principal. We have some probably final interviews. Sometimes
Okay.
you might have, a third round yet. but we've got some final interviews coming up this Friday. So that's at the end of that, we may have our candidate, and we
So
could
we
announce them.
may announce in June a new principal at Parkview.
Yes, that's the goal, is to be able to do that, and so people kind of know who that person is and can kind of go into the summer understanding who that person is, because then that person starts to be available right away, on July 1. People can meet that person, so that's our intent. We tried to get started with that one as early as possible.
Right. Well, let's talk about some great things happening. First of all, let's talk about sports. Some great things are happening. We're closing down towards the end of the spring sports season, and we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got squads that are all highly competitive in all the areas. One regret that I have is the seniors this year in track have never had a surface on our track to be able to run on.
Yeah.
We were unable to get the company that we contracted with to surface the track. It's not because of them either. The surface needed a certain length of time with temperatures at a certain temperature in order to put it on. So it just didn't work out with the late spring that we had. And now we're getting into that regional sectional time frame, and if we put the surface on, the track would be out of commission for our athletes for 2 weeks.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. They're still running on the asphalt. They can do their starts. We've got the surface on the indoor facility, so they can do their starts and the hurdles and some of that early sprint work on that surface in the multi-purpose. So I have a regret about that, but sometimes there was a year where we didn't play a home football game here either.
That's true. I remember that.
So sometimes things just don't happen as fast as you would like in that world. Girls soccer is really having a great year. Baseball is middle to above in conference. Softball is coming around. There's a couple of really good teams in our conference.
Yes, there is.
But our team's beating everybody else. So it's been a really good year in sports in spring here.
Well, let's talk about some great things with the FFA. They're sending some people to a championship.
Yeah, every year we send teams to nationals, which is always in Indianapolis in summer. This year we have 4 teams going of kids, and there's an advisor with each one of those teams, and so we've got, I believe it's upwards of 20 kids going. Typically we have more in the 10s to early teens. This is a lot of kids this year going to FFA nationals. So again, we compete very well with other districts in terms of our FFA program.
Yes, we do.
So that's always something we can hang our hat on.
And of course, we want to make sure everybody knows graduation is June 4th. Jazz in the Park is May 24th. Lots of things happening as we wrap things up here.
Absolutely. Keep people busy.
Yeah, that's right. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that we're working very hard to make sure we have good experience all the way to graduation.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Even though it's sunny and warm and the kids don't want to be in the building.
But I certainly want to thank you for being on.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And if you want to be involved in the school board, it is the 3rd Tuesday of every month, 5:30, right here in the Plymouth Amphitheater. And I'll be saying goodbye. We'll see you next time with Action 14. Until then, I'll be seeing you on the radio. Bye-bye.